Lifetime, as many of you work campers often do, among which was in Michigan, the state of Indiana, and of course the state of Florida. He met Denise at work all the way back in 1999, last century, and started working at the campground all the way back in 2005. I didn't know some of that stuff about him. So there's all the facts about Jerry, but you know, he was more than a bunch of numbers, dates, and facts, wasn't he? You know, Jerry was our friend, and in fact, I'll bet he wouldn't want us all to be so sad today, although it can be very hard. And so I'm going to try to keep it lighthearted and positive, because I think that's what he would probably want me to do. But you know, everybody grieves in their own way, so if you need to cry, no judgment from here. So you just do what you need to do. But I'd like to share a couple verses from the Word. And then right after that, we're going to have a special song from 3 of his grandchildren. But the verses come from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. It says, "For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance." At this time, we're going to have his 3 grandchildren come forward.
That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. And how precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior, ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy raised, unending love, amazing grace. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior, ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy raised, unending love, amazing grace. My chains the sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will be forever mine, will be forever mine. You are forever mine.
Thank you, ladies. Don't you wish you could sing like that too? In John chapter 11, we find a scenario where one of Jesus' closest friends had passed away. Lazarus, his friend, had died. And when this happened, we get a rare glimpse into the humanity in the shortest verse in the Bible of God. It says that whenever he got to the scene, it says that Jesus wept. And in other verses in that same passage, it talks about just the emotional toll it was taking on Jesus. And this is God in the flesh we're talking about. So we see that God has a very emotional side too. And he's not a robot. Sometimes we like to picture him as some old guy who's just, doesn't have any emotion and ready to smite us every time we mess up. But we don't see that at all in Jesus. And in this same chapter, this verse I want to share with you is when his friend's sister was all very emotionally just distraught, he said this to her. Her name was Martha. He said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even after dying. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never die." And then he asked her this one question. Do you believe this? And that's the same question we all have to ask ourselves. Do you believe this? When God was here in the flesh, the question he asked people the most was not, how many times do you go to the temple? How much money are you throwing in the offering plate? You don't see him asking stuff like that. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of religious folk today that are like that. They're only concerned with laying those religious rules on people and collecting their money. But Jesus was nothing like that, and he's still nothing like that. He was less concerned with all of the religious rituals that people like to lay on one another, but was more concerned with what do people believe about him. In fact, when Jesus hung on the cross, he was crucified between two thieves. And their reaction to Jesus is a good example of the two responses people have today of Jesus. The one said, "Aren't you supposed to be the Savior? Save us from this if you are really God." But the other thief rebuked him and asked Jesus to remember him when they pass on into the next realm. And Jesus told him, "Surely I say to you, today you shall be with me in paradise." Now think about this. That man that he said is going to be in paradise, he didn't have time to go to church services. He didn't have time to go help the poor and the needy and the orphans. And he didn't have time to get baptized and give money in the offering plate. And those are very good things to do. My point is, though, is Jesus is less interested in how churchy and how ritually religious you are. He's more interested in, do you believe in him? And so I know some of you here today, maybe church isn't your thing. I get that. Maybe all that religion stuff isn't your thing, and I'm happy to tell you that it doesn't have to be your thing in order for you to enter into paradise. All that is required of you is to believe, and when you truly believe, that'll change you from the inside out. At least that's what we see with Jesus. For me, I don't want to hear how spiritual or religious a person is. I'm not impressed with what seminary a person went to or how much they attend church. I want to see what a person believes based on how they live. How do they treat other people? Doing good deeds is a good thing, but most important thing is, what do you believe in? The Bible says that our lives come and go quickly. Here today, gone tomorrow, like a vapor that's gone. I think if we focus on that, some people tend to think that that's kind of a morbid and a thing you don't want to think about a whole lot. For me, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think the fact that we realize life is so limited and every moment is so precious that it's special. If we keep in mind that our time here on earth is limited, it helps us to make the most of the time that we do have. And, you know, I'm so glad that for Jerry, he had time to tell people what he wanted to tell them. He had time to make peace with what he wanted to make peace with. And, you know, he was able to do all of that. And I'm so thankful for that. But, you know, sometimes we get sad and we forget that death is truly part of life. We don't want to think about it, but the truth is eventually we all have to go on that journey. It's a door we all have to go through. And when you realize that your time is so limited, you begin to see what's really important, like the relationships. Our relationship to God, our relationship to others. That's why we're here today, isn't it? Because of our relationship to Jerry. It's not because of a bunch of numbers and dates. We're here because of our interactions and our relationship and our memories that we have with Jerry. I know that, you know, there's another service going on for Jerry's family, his biological family. I like to think of his time here at the campground. I like to think of us as his family during that period. You know, when you spend a whole lot of time with people, working with them day in and day out, sometimes the people you work with become more of a family than your real family, don't they? You know what I'm talking about. I see heads nodding there. And some people, you know, are like that redheaded stepchild like Harvey, but sorry about that, Harvey. Had to make a joke at your expense, buddy. But really, that's what it all boils down to, our relationship with God, our relationship with other people. You know, I can shut my eyes right now and I still see Jerry in the office with Murphy. I still see him riding around with Murphy on that golf cart. And when I pulled in today, I saw that golf cart parked right under that oak tree on the corner there. And I thought, oh, Jerry. And then I remembered, no, it's not Jerry. So it's like he's still there, you know. I can still shut my eyes and remember all of those interactions that I had with him here while we were all a family. And I can still hear him pulling up in his cart saying, Stevie, when are you going to get rid of those ants around my or you know, the new paint job. He loved painting them carts, putting the new pinstripe and all sparkly paint jobs on the golf carts. So, you know, if some of you are willing, I'd like to open this time up to anyone who wants to share just some of their favorite memories about Jerry, kind of like I just did. Only the good ones. Don't let any old cats out of the bag right now, please. But I'll start by reading one. This is one from a former work camper, Priscilla.
Snowbird.
A snowbird. Priscilla Hollinger, is that how you say it? Okay. So this is what she says. This was a memorable moment of hers about Jerry. She says, a few years back, Lee accidentally threw out the trash. He threw out for the trash a sack from Publix, and it had 2 bags of Butterfingers in it. And they were buy one, get one free. So Jerry was on the cart that day, and she says, I finally caught up with him, and I told him I'd like my trash back, please. So he kind of looked at me, and then he spoke and said, well, you're the first person that's ever asked for their trash back ever. But get in the cart, and we'll go see if we can find it. So he helped, she says he helped me dig around in 2 dumpsters till we found it, but not without some of his dry sense of humor remarks the whole time. After we found them, he took me back home and said, well, what else can I do for you today? He was so funny. We'll all miss him very dearly. So I guess if it's still the same, I know there's a few things around here that trade for gold zip ties, water hoses, and I guess Butterfingers. Yeah. I don't think he would have gone through 2 dumpsters for me, though, no. So she must be special. But if anybody else wants to share, I'd like to open it up today to, you know, just reminisce about some of your good memories with him.
I do.
Yes, sir.
We're not quite snowbirds. We come down about 2 or 3 months a year as we can afford it. But closer to the time of putting in the camp, and we finally see the KOA sign, his face comes right into mine. And he wasn't always there to greet us, but whenever he did, he had a smile on his face and said, "Well, it's about time you got down here." And it just started the whole. It set the tone for the entire visit. A smile, a friendly greeting, and then to say nothing less of the staff in the office, of course. But they're all 5 stars in our book, so that's something we'll always take with us.
Yeah.
I just said it.
Thank you.
I didn't want
Say it.
to. Hey, I had something written down and I left it at home. So.
I told Denise to pray for me so I don't pass out.
I'll catch you.
I hate public. But anyway, I just, when Denise and Jerry had Spike, but anyway, he had to be put to sleep and everything, and so I wanted to give him a little something and a little card and everything. And I went to their house and I got ready to knock on the door, and for some reason I was like, uh-oh, I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
And I knocked on the door, and as soon as Jerry came out, I was going to say, I'm sorry about your puppy and all this. And he opened the door, and I'm like, Mama! And he came out of the house, and he's like, it's okay. And I just handed him the stuff. I'm like, ah! And I just walked away. But he was real compassionate. And then they got Murphy, and then he came over to me and my husband's trailer, and he knocked on the door, and my husband answered, Glee, and he's like, is your wife home? And he's like, oh, what do you have in your arms? And he turned his back to my husband. He's like, I want your wife to be the first to see. Yeah, he wouldn't let my husband watch. So when you were talking about trash, it was, sorry, I only have one more story. And I have, he would come by and pick up the trash, sometimes. And he came by one day and I was outside, and he's like, your trash is really, really heavy lately. And he's like, I haven't seen Lee. He's like, I didn't know what he meant. He's like, what are you doing, piecing him out? And he just drove away laughing. I was like, you're psycho. This one, my last little story, this one image I have of Jerry, I couldn't get out of my head thanks to Denise. So now I'm going to get it out of my head and give it to you guys. So I was outside one day and he came up and I saw something near his socks, like I didn't know what it was. So I was like, what is that white thing? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's your skin.
Yeah.
He's like really tan, and his skin was whiter than his bleached socks.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, that's my skin. I'm like, you got to get some sunblock or something.
Yeah.
And so Denise came out about that time, and she's like, I know. She's like, I'll tell him, like, when he gets ready for bed and takes all his clothes off, she's like, you look like you're still dressed. I'm like, I did not need to know that. You guys, can I have that image of Jerry?
Yes. That's quick. Anybody else like to share, please? Bethany? Hi, Bethany.
It's just general. I worked with Jerry for about 5 years, and he just was a really easy person to work with, and was my friend, and I just really appreciate the time that I had with him, and he was always, making me crack up, or he talked about how the campgrounds workers around me made me more sassy, and he just, he picked on me, and I just really had a special place in my heart for him, and I'm just grateful for to have known him, and I just respect him, and will miss him.
He's always good at picking on us, the amount that we need it, sometimes a little more. Jen?